You're tuning in to the Raised by Rentals program. This podcast will contain strong language and spoilers for decades-old media properties.
Join us.
Welcome, everybody. This is the podcast where we examine pop culture franchises of the VHS era and improv news stories to finally, definitively answer all the questions that the kids of the 80s have been wondering about for decades, like where's the beef? Who you gonna call? Who's bad? And do you know where your children are? So don't touch that dial and listen close while we imagine how we might improve our favorite movies, TV, and games. I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we're Raised by Rentals. Mike and Sam! Did you ever go to summer camp when you were kids?
Sadly,
Yes.
I did, and it sucked.
Mine's, as everything else, a super traumatizing story because I went 1 year. My parents threw the money together and my friend was going and I was super, super excited because I'd never been to summer camp and I was like, I can go horseback riding, all this stuff. And I got my period.
Oh no!
Oh no. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll stick in your memory. What about you, Mike? Why did yours
Yeah.
suck?
Oh, it was one of those day summer camps where you just kind of got dropped off for like 8 hours. Basically, it was, watch our kids while we're at work type of summer camp.
Yep.
And it was run by these like really just bored teenagers who could give two fucks about anything. So it was like us just kind of sitting around like, yeah, here, do some arts and crafts. And they just handed us construction paper. It's like, okay. Then it's like, hey, we're going to go outside and play. Just walk up that hill. It's like, well, this sucks. It's hot out. Yeah, it was the most like boring, basic ass summer camp ever. I hated it.
That reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 6 when, Court is trying to teach the kids all these, Native American lessons by, piling up
Yes.
rocks. And the two kids, they say something like, if this is as good as it gets, we're in trouble, dude.
That's pretty accurate to how it was.
Oh, man.
I was a camp counselor once too at the Boys and Girls Camp. I would do that in high school during the summers and stuff. And I was in charge of arts and crafts. And it definitely takes a lot to come up with those projects, but you definitely have to come up with a project.
Right. You can't just be like, here's some paper, do stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? You got to do something. But yeah, so for those of you out there listening, if you couldn't tell, we have our good friend Sam Granquist from the Western New York Horror Crew and Jerry's Closet back once more to guest host, and also bringing back another staple from the show, which is one of our favorite series, Slasher Camp. Woohoo! Yeah, so way back in our 31st episode, back in season 1, 2022, we decided that we wanted to do a take on Freddy versus Jason, which, I don't know that it's aged very well as as a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street installment, and we definitely had a lot of, bones to pick with it at the time.
Yeah.
So we decided it would be fun, right? As we do to improv our own story. How could we improve Freddy versus Jason? And we ended up doing this episode where we had Freddy and Jason, bros before bitches, team up to run their own summer camp where they're basically just recruiting, kids and campers to come and be murder fodder.
Yep. And then Freddy uses his dream powers as PR work to keep everyone from noticing.
Yeah, it's like they can advertise in town, like send your kids to slasher camp. It's like an authentic horror movie experience. And then the next year, our 50th episode, we decided that we needed to bask in the nostalgia of the 80s by having Ernest P. Worrell visit Slasher Camp. And that's one of my favorite episodes I think we've ever done. Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp is freaking hilarious.
Oh, I love that one.
Yep. The slapstick comedy to it and everything is it's so good. And just the cast, the characters that you guys came up with playing some of the roles, which is fucking brilliant. And Ghostface being killed, coming back, being killed, coming back, because he could be anybody,
Yep. That's my favorite joke. I freaking loved that. Like,
Oh,
just
God.
I love like how Freddy and Jess are just like, where are they coming from?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like this really silly like Scooby-Doo joke, like in one door and out another door.
That's why I appreciate it. Is it was like a Scooby Doo kind of like aspect too, like Ghostface like returning and everything, and even with like the scream as the wake up call in the morning at the camp and everything, it just had this like really Scooby Doo feel.
Yeah, just like that.
Yep.
But can you believe it's been 50 episodes since we've been to Slasher Camp? Oh my God.
Dude,
Oh my God.
I was seriously kind of thrown aback when I went back to listen to it. I was like, wait.
Mhm.
We just did Slasher Camp last year. No, we did Slasher Camp in 2023. I was like, holy crap! How did we not come back to this last year?
I know.
I felt like I listened to it recently too. Like when I went back and like listened to it again, I'm like, wait, didn't I just like listen to this not so long ago?
Yeah, legitimately it was 2023. We had so many episodes between the two, like 50 episodes. But like that's
Mhm.
crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
so it is fun to finally get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sam, for a minute there, I was like, oh, is that like a criticism? Like, are all of our episodes like so alike? They all sound the same that you were like, wait, didn't I just hear this?
No, it's just this one was so great. And like I said, like I'm a huge fan of like the slapstick comedy and Ernest P. Worrell in general and like every aspect to it, like Chop Top being the cook and like it just fell together like really well that it's one of those episodes that's like really rememberable, it kind of goes up there with like the Mousetrap episode for me too and stuff.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, so I can't believe that it's taken us so long to get back to Slasher Camp. We promised everybody 2 years ago that we were going to do more, but we are finally back. So we are back for Slasher Camp Part 3, and this is Part 2 of our Summer Slasherama two-part special that we wanted to do in honor of our 100th episode, which technically this is the 101st episode. Our last episode, the Monster Squad 2 Slasher Summer, was the first of that two-parter. So yes, this is the second episode in a row that's going to feature, Hollywood slasher characters like Jason Voorhees, who has now been in, I don't know, like a dozen episodes. I've lost track.
It's because it's your favorite, Josh.
That's true. It's tr- it's the only one of them I have a tattoo of on my leg.
Yep, yep. You
um,
had to get that in.
Yeah, and we featured Jason Voorhees in our first episode. So when Mike and I were planning this out, we thought, well, how cool would it be to have Jason be in our 101st episode also? So 100 episodes
Right.
later. But of course, as I explained last time, we couldn't decide what we wanted our 100th episode special to be. At first, we were hemming and hawing, like, do we want to do Monster Squad 2 and have the slasher characters come in, or do we want to do Slasher Camp 3 and have the slasher characters come back? We're like, which one? Like, how do we bring the slasher characters back? We don't want to do both. Like, that'll be boring. And then we're like, no, it won't. It won't be boring. We're just going to
No.
do both.
Fuck it, we're gonna do both.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
and that's the thing for people who love, Jason and Freddy. Well, you got a little taste of them in our last episode, and now you get to see them doing their buddy cop shtick again.
Right, exactly. And and Sam, I didn't stop and introduce you too much, right? Beyond the fact that obviously you're the head of the Western New York Horror Crew and the Jerry's Closet Online nerd store. We've had you on the show before, but I do need to remind people who you are because again, I can't believe so much time has passed. You have been on the show with us 3 times before. We did an installment in the Return of the Living Dead franchise called Teenage Wasteland, right? Zombies in a Mall, which
Hmm.
was so much fun.
Yeah.
um, we had you back shortly after that for a Super Gushers episode, Secret Origins Revealed, where we talked about how we
Yeah.
got into, being geeks and nerds and dorks about pop culture stuff.
Born into the nerdom.
And then you came on and you acted as our horror host so we could put together a Christmas horror episode at the end of season 2 where we introduced Jurgen the Yuletide Avenger.
It was so fun.
Yes. And man, yeah, that episode, You Will Perish, was freaking great. And I recently re-listened to all of these because I, kind of wanted to have it fresh in my head in case we needed to bring it up.
Same.
But then it occurred to me that all three of those episodes were in season two, just like Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp. So how is it that we went through the entirety of season three? We didn't go back to Slasher Camp. We didn't have Sam come back on the show. Like, what the hell? So, we're here to set those to rights.
Absolutely.
Yay. And I am honored to be here again. And like I said, I'm like super excited to be doing this again. I'm kind of jumping back into things, and I'm speaking with a realtor now in looking to buy a building. So I will have an official store again and a venue for us to be able to do stuff in the future. So
Heck yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
that's my soon to come from Western New York horror crew. You guys got the first inside tip here that like we will have like a home soon. And once I get settled and everything, my Nerdy Treasure episodes will be coming back too. Once I start going through some more of my collection and stuff, and the eBay's been getting stuff, so check out our eBay. You can go to westernnewyorkhorrorcrew.com and find all that stuff too. So.
Yeah, awesome.
Sweet.
I'm glad you pointed
Little
that out.
self plug there.
Yeah, no, perfect. Right. Yeah, and that's Western New York Horror Crew. That's WNY Horror and then KRUE. Just make sure everyone, can find it and get to the right
Yes,
place. But yeah,
like
that's
Freddy Krueger.
yeah,
Remember that.
perfect. But yeah, and an exclusive Raised Parental's news bulletin.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And one more note on, sort of like I can't believe it's been so long, but one of the things that we wanted to do at the beginning of season four, and I've mentioned it a couple of times recently, is that we wanted season four to be an opportunity to return to some concepts or some series that we had done in previous episodes or in previous seasons that we wanted to either, just do in the next installment or maybe even wrap them up. And so far we've done a second installment in Flapjack Massacre with Second Breakfast when Michael May from Count Creepyhead Saturday Morning Monster Mash came on and joined us to do another breakfast-themed slasher fest. We did our Snakes in Space episode, which was a follow-up to two previous episodes we did with Cobra 2 Assignment Miami Beach and Escape from Earth. We did our Does the Combat Have to Be So Mortal episode, which was a return to the concept of doing an improv ruin on a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as I mentioned, this episode is us returning to Slasher Camp. We're going to do our third installment, Slasher Camp 3, Killing Time. But before we jump in, I just wanted to mention, you guys both had like a traumatic experience with summer camp. To answer my own question, I never went to a summer camp or any kind of camp when I was a kid that I can remember. I remember going to like day programs occasionally at like the Boys and Girls Club, or like I was like an art class over the summer. Again, that was my mom finding something for me to do while she was in work. But the only time I ever really went to a summer camp was I worked at a summer camp when I was 17, and it was a dude ranch, like a Western themed summer camp for kids, very much like Hey Dude, that old Nickelodeon show.
Nice.
I love that show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to be a counselor. I worked in the kitchen, and it was miserable for me. But I met Christina, who is now my wife. We've been together for, decades at this point. So I guess it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's just kind of dive right into it. That's enough a preamble. For if you haven't listened to our previous Slasher Camp episodes, as I mentioned already, the first one is Freddy and Jason, sort of Freddy and Jason instead of Freddy versus Jason. The second one was Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp. And at the end of Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp, spoilers if you haven't heard that. If you haven't, stop this, go listen to it, and then come on back and you can get like the whole trilogy in one's go. But at the end of Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp, we had Ernest P. Worrell discover that he had the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead franchise that he had inadvertently picked up from Ash, who he, again, sort of inadvertently like put in the hospital. Sorry, Ash. And Ernest, thinking that the Necronomicon was like a manual for the chainsaw that he also found of Ash's, that he was like, what is this, Klaatu Barata nickel nonsense? and he ends up reading the words wrong, as everybody who has ever opened the Necronomicon does, and opens up
I
a
do.
right. He opens up a portal in time that sends Freddy and Jason, but also Chucky and Ghostface, as well as Jess, the goth woman that works for Freddy and Jason at the slasher camp. He sends all of them, Ernest included, all the way back in time to the 80s, where Freddy and Jason were excited because it was like the glory days for them, and we left them back in the past. So now we're here to figure out what do we do with that? Like, where do we pick up that story with Freddy and Jason in the 80s?
Well, let's see here. I'm just gonna crack my knuckles and get right into this. So I had a ton of fun ideas for this opening here. So again, we crash in the past. We see all five characters, or I'm sorry, six characters fall into the past. And then we had mentioned at the end of that the slashers all team up to go on a killing spree of all the young 80s hard bodies that are at Camp Crystal Lake, which would technically be Camp Forest Green, I guess. So they're there, and of course Ernest is like, well, now guys, do I still got a job? Like we ended it there,
Hmm.
so we have to pick up this next movie like right where that leaves off. So I think that we're gonna open up. We'll see the slashers just like we did in the past. Like it starts off with Bananarama, playing Cruel Summer. The slashers all run off at the different counselors. We see Ernest, doing his whole thing, and then let's have Ernest see a job posting on like the office of Camp Forest Green and like him go inquire within while the killers are killing everybody. But
Yeah.
I want to have this opening montage. Like we see Ernest go in there, and it's like kind of a lot of freeze frame montages here. But just imagine Twisted Sister, the kids are back, just
Yeah,
queuing up, and
yeah.
and then just see a montage of different kills. So it's like all these different kills are happening, and in the background we see like Ernest shaking hands with the head of the camp. We see him getting the job. He's now cleaning up the bloody messes that the killers are making. Um, but some of the kills that I thought would be really fun. So like picture a cabin at night, like bunk beds and all that, teenagers sleeping in there, and then Freddy erupting from the top bunk, from the mattress. So it's like you can see below, he's not under there. He's literally jumping out of the mattress. Like kids are freaking out and he's
Mhm.
stabbing the shit out of the guy that was in the bed, just like freaking out. Then we could see some dude bro on the lake, like, big muscle bound dude wearing glasses, people swimming, and we see a machete in the lake like a shark fin coming
Yeah.
at him.
That's right.
And then just Jason jump out of the water and rip the guy in half, and just blood goes everywhere. People are panicking and running. Then we see Jess in the woods with like some love-struck doofus, like picture Melvin from Toxic Avenger, just like leaning in to kiss her, and then just we see a knife poke out the back of his head, and we spin the camera around to her holding the handle, kind of giggling, like haha, because again, she's a killer too.
Yep.
Um, I have this scene where I'm picturing Chucky sitting up in a tree with a beehive and like a bunch of counselors down below. And Josh, you mentioned oh god, what's his name from part six? The counselor from Friday
Oh,
the 13th part six.
Court.
Court. Yeah. So picture a scene like where Court was showing them the Native American stones, like all gathered around. Chucky's above him with a beehive. He slashes the branch, dropping the beehive on him. You see kids running and screaming, getting stung, and he's just cackling in the tree, just laughing away.
You'd have to get the kid that's allergic to bees too, like swelling up to the point of like bursting or something too.
We pan over to Macaulay Culkin laying there.
Oh no, like from My Girl.
Yes,
Yes, that's awesome.
the bees. But
Where
this
where are
one's
his
one of my.
glasses? He can't see without his
I
glasses.
We can show Chucky holding his glasses later. Um, but this one's my favorite. We see Ghostface kind of around the side of the one of the cabins, like the main office, on a payphone, like hunched over, whispering into the payphone, "I'm gonna gut you like a fucking fish. Do you hear me?" And then we cut to a terrified little girl on the other end of the phone, and someone saying off panel, "Sydney, who is it, sweetie?" Because she would be a kid in the 80s.
Hell yeah.
So
Oh, man, that's great.
the whole while all this is happening, like I said, Ernest is just in the background mopping up bodies, throwing, he's got like a wheelbarrow full of dead bodies, just like, I'm gonna
Bring
earn
out
my
your dad.
money. What's that say?
Bring out your dad.
Right. And so then when the song ends, we get the title card, Slasher Camp 3, Killing Time, or whatever we want to call this. The title bleeds all over the screen. We get a blood red screen wipe, and then back to the 5 killers, or the 6 killers floating in the lake, filled with blood and water, just like bodies all around them. They look like they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Just kind of chilling there. And Jess should bring up, like, this is great and all, but I kind of miss the future, And Freddy agreed, being like, yeah, the 80s is a young slasher game. Besides, what's the point of remaking what we already done when we could just have a sequel and have everyone stop and look at the screen breaking the fourth wall? And then have, Jason nod in agreement, but Chucky insists that he's going to stay here in the past. He goes, I got some plans. I'm going to make a trip to Chicago and look up an old friend who's about to celebrate his 6th birthday.
Nice.
So, because again, Andy doesn't know him yet. So he's like, I'm going to get that little fucker.
Yeah, right?
So, so Freddy's just like, suit yourself. Then he's going to look at Ghostface and be like, what about Laughing Boy here? And Chucky just shrugs, going, kill him? And they're like, yeah. And they all just jump on Ghostface and murder the fuck out of him.
Yeah, they're gonna make some comment. They're like, chop him up into little bits so we can't keep coming back from the dead. I don't know how the fuck he kept doing that.
But like, I think that this is just gonna be a nod for like the hardcore Scream fans here. We see Ghostface's body just like floating in the water, like all covered in blood and all that, and have Freddy go like, so who the fuck was under the mask this time? And have Chucky go, I don't know, some ugly SOB named Brandon James. Now that's a nod to anyone who liked the Scream TV series, where the deformed man Brandon James is killed in the lake in Lakewood and is found much later, and then the killing spree starts.
Okay, that's
So I just had to tie it into the Scream TV series.
And since they got dragged into that portal into the past, there wouldn't be another Ghostface, so you could kill him off.
Yep. Exactly. Because there would be no other employees,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this because I definitely want to kind of get it back to just, Freddy and Jason as our core, and Jess, right, as the core group.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. Like, Chucky's just like, peace out. I got my own shit to deal with. Yeah, of course, we'll dispatch Ghostface, like you said. For some reason, I can't say the name Ghostface. Every time I go to, like, say the character's name, I have to pause and go, wait, what? What's his name? Screamface? Like, what's it called? Like, I don't know why. I can't figure it out.
If we ever do a knockoff, we need to call it Screamface.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
I always want to say Ghostface Killer.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Well, it's like in the last episode when we were thinking about maybe using like the fake slashers, like the goalie from Unlucky 13 Part 13,
Yes!
and like Johnny Knife Hands.
Fucking Johnny Knife Hands, I love that one.
It would be funny. Scream face.
Oh my god, that's good.
So we also need to figure out, like, what about Ernest? Like, okay, so he got a job. Are we just gonna have him say like, "Bye guys, like I got a new job now," or do we want to dispatch him in some way? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, I think Ernest should live, because again, he's the, for lack of a better term, and this is in no disrespect to Ernest, because I love Jim Varney and I loved the Ernest movies, but Ernest was a useful idiot for Freddy and Jason. That's basically what he was. He and so he meant no harm. He just wants to live his life. Oh, one thing, Sam, you had mentioned this before we started, that I should have mentioned in the montage while Ernest is doing all the stuff in the background. We wanted him to meet his dog.
Yeah.
So, like we should have, like, during that montage, have like some little stray dog and have Ernest like feeding this puppy while, there's killing happening in the foreground. It's like, oh, there's a little heartfelt moment happening in the background,
Wait,
but
Sam,
I think, like,
what was that dog's name, Sam?
Rimshot?
Rimshot. Yeah,
Rimshot.
I
Yep.
think I had forgotten about Rimshot.
Yeah, because the one movie like I tend to always watch is Ernest Scared Stupid, like every Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
and like Rimshot's in that one and stuff. So
Yeah,
So yeah,
I don't think I've seen Scared Stupid in a really long time. Like I mentioned it back in the Ernest Goes to Slasher Camp episode 2 years ago, but I was like, the only ones I ever tend to watch are the original one and occasionally Saves Christmas. But even then, I don't think I've seen Saves Christmas in long enough that I'm like, wait, is there a dog in that? I'm gonna have to watch those again this year. But anyway, keep going.
it's been a few Christmases since I've watched that one, but yeah, that's one of the many Christmas movies that will cycle in and out as I watch my Christmas films.
yeah, if you like Trolls 2, then you'll like Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, plus a lot of the masks in Ernest Scared Stupid are the leftover masks from Killer Clowns, so they look great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really funny
Yep.
sentence. You're like, if you like Trolls too, and I'm like, does anybody?
Or Troll 2.
The best worst movie.
Yeah, Troll 2. Sorry, not Trolls. The dancing like little.
No, because I said that first too.
Yeah, those the weird little like I don't know, fuzzy headed toys or whatever they are, because they made a couple of those movies too, which came out when my kids were young enough that I got forced to go see them in the theater. And I remember we went and
Hey,
saw
I
the
love
first.
them.
They are really well made. I was gonna say we went and saw the
Oh,
first one, and I was all like, "Oh, I'm just getting ready for a $9 nap in the movie theater," but I ended up actually having fun with it, and so yeah, I watched the whole thing. I think the first one, at least the first one, is pretty good. But
yeah.
anyway,
Well, so after after we kill off Ghostface and Chucky's like, hey, peace out, bitches, I'm going to Chicago. They got to try to figure out like how do they get back. So we could have this whole like conversation between Jess and Freddy, because remember Jason is pretty much mute. Talking about like, well, we don't have that book that Ernest had, and maybe Jess just like yells over to Ernest like, hey Ernest, where did you get that book from? And we could have him trying to fish Ghostface's corpse out of the lake. Just like trying to clear. Oh, that there belonged to my good buddy Ash Williams. And it's like, and like maybe he could say like, oh, we got to look up this Ash guy. See if he's still around, and see if he's around in the past, and just have Jason snap to and start walking out of the lake. And have Freddy and Jess look at each other like, where's he going? And just start following him. And have, maybe Jess can even call out to Ernest, like, hey, Ernest, I guess we're leaving. You coming with us? And he'll be like, no, I'm going to stay back here in the 80s where I belong.
yeah,
And just, go back to cleaning.
that's good. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, Freddy should be like kind of running after Jason, like hey, big boy, slow down, like maybe he catches up to him, and like Jason just keeps on walking like it's not even there, and have Freddy be like, what is it, boy? You smell something?
Yes.
Which totally would be. I mean, he probably smells the Necronomicon.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's a friggin' deadite. So yeah, so we know that, but they're in Crystal Lake, so they're in New Jersey.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if they ever establish where the Nobi cabin is, but we know that Ash is what? He's from, is it Milwaukee he's from?
I think so.
I think so.
Let me, you know what, not to grind the podcast to a halt.
No, that's fine. But while you're looking that up, I do always think of Ash as being from the Midwest, like Wisconsin. I don't think that I ever really thought about it.
No, because Wisconsin's kind of thinking, or Missouri, or even New York, like up. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm just thinking that because that's where like I am, or what.
Oh no, he's from Elk Grove, Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan.
So we're all just like demonstrating how ignorant we are of like, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know. It's all the same shit, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's all the same
No,
shit.
but isn't that where Sam Raimi's from? Is Michigan? So wouldn't that make sense?
Right. And it looks like from New Jersey to Michigan is 834 miles. So much like the joke that we talked about in Boogeyman's Closet, where Jason fucking wakes up in Crystal Lake and is like, I'm going to go to Springwood, and literally walks 500 miles in a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to travel
yeah.
800 miles by foot. So,
Yeah.
again, we're not going to be all precious about it. In fact, let's make a joke about it. We'll see them start walking, and Jason just starts like walking toward the Necronomicon, and Freddy's like, "What is it, boy? You smell something?" Like, and he's just kind of following behind Jason, like, "Come on, I guess we're going on a trip." we should cut to a map, very much like in Indiana Jones, where you see the plane following the dotted line, but
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
you see three little cartoony heads of Jess, Jason, and Freddy, just like following the dotted line, and then
Yeah.
smash cut outside the Nobi cabin in the middle of the night. There's a storm raging. It's just fucking crazy. You hear like screaming and chainsaw sounds coming from inside the cabin. You know, have Jason like bust through the door, and we see Ash just finishing killing frickin' Henrietta. So he had just chopped her up and shot her the swallow this, after she says swallow your soul over and over again. So blows her head off, and you see Annie and Ash standing there, and now we got Freddy, Jason, and Jess standing there. They're all just kind of staring at each other. And then have the fucking trees start beating the shit out of the cabin, like at the end of Evil Dead 2, and have Freddy get so scared, like he jumps up into Jason's arms, just like, ah! And then just everyone looks at him, and he slowly climbs back down, just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, Jess has to look at him like, doesn't even say anything. She just looks at him like, you fucking pussy. Like. and Ash has to say something like, like, I don't know. I don't know if he knows the word deadite, but something like, like, these deadites just keep on coming. Like, he doesn't recognize who Freddy and Jason are. He just thinks they're more like weird creatures coming to get him, And then maybe have Jess just be like, as you were, like, nothing to see here. Don't mind us. Like, back to what you were doing, and they just kind of back out of the cabin.
Well, no, because I was gonna say, because they're gonna see that Annie has the book.
Oh,
Because
yeah, that's
she's
true.
reciting for the pages. So maybe Jess can be like, she's got the book, and then have Ash like rev his saw and like go at Jason. Now we got a machete and a chainsaw fight happening.
Nice.
While Annie's reading, like she's running around the cabin with like Freddy and Jess chasing after her, Scooby-Doo style, like whoop, 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 trying to get her, and she's reading from the book. And then have the door break open again and have the giant deadite face stick in. And just once again, because it's really funny, have Freddy be like, "Oh, what the fuck is that?" Like,
Yeah.
jump back all scared.
Freddy's totally embracing his inner Shaggy.
Right.
Yes.
Just get terrified of everything. So like, they end up like Ash gets grabbed by the demon, so he's fighting the giant demon, and Jason, maybe he goes to throw his machete at Annie, but then she like, she rears up before he stabs her, and she falls over, and we see the Ash hand like holding the Kandarian dagger in her back, like, in the end of Evil Dead 2, and like she falls to the ground, and like have Jason, Freddy, and Jess look at each other, and be like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Then she finishes reading the line, and the portal opens, and we see all of them like get sucked back into the past. They end up at the start of, where Army of Darkness begins, where they're back in medieval times, and have the Deadite swoop in. Ash shoots it with the, his boomstick, and all the medieval knights and stuff start, hail, hail. They all start screaming. And while Ash is looking around, have Jason just lop his fucking head off and grab the book. And then Freddy looks at all the knights who are standing around shocked that Ash just got decapitated, their great hero. And he just goes, boogie, boogie, boogie. And they all just run screaming, like dropping their shields and swords.
Nice. Wait, hey, hang on. Let me just back up just for a second. Like, I love all this, but so you have to remind me because I probably should have watched Army of Darkness again, but like there's been a lot of like movies and stuff to watch lately. So in Army of Darkness, Ash knows that he needs to like get the Necronomicon to
Yes.
both like stop the army of the dead and like get back to his own time. So he goes on a quest to like find it. So he doesn't take it with him from the present day, right? He doesn't have it at the beginning. Okay. So
okay.
No, I'm just gonna say like I love all this. I'm just saying like we don't necessarily have to like behead Ash because his movie could just go on as if Freddy and Jason and Jess were never there. Like Army of Darkness just happens the way that it had always did, and Freddy and Jason can just if the book from the current day came back through the time portal with Ash and the rest of them, we could do the same joke and just maybe one of the guards, one of the knights picks up the book, look at this satanic tome or whatever, and then have Jason take his head off. All the knights and Ash turn to look at him. Same joke where Freddy's just like, like ooga booga booga, and then they all run off. But they basically just leave Ash to go on, to carry out his stories the way that he always did, so that he would be there in the future later on to want to go to slasher camp, get waylaid by Ernest, and like create this time loop in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to kill him. I just thought it would be
Yeah.
funny to have him like, because I was the opening of Army of Darkness is totally different from the end of Evil Dead 2,
Mm-hmm.
where like Evil Dead 2 ends and he's like in the image of what we see in the Necronomicon, where he has the chainsaw hand and he's holding up the shotgun, and all the knights are around him cheering after he killed the Deadite, and at the end, he's like, oh God, no, and then we open up Army of Darkness and he's like, my name is Ash and I am a slave, and it's like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Plus, wasn't his car sucked back through the time portal too at the end of Evil Dead 2?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. But anyway,
and that actually does continue on in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
He does use the car.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he builds it to be like one of the defenses when they have to fight like the Army of the Dead.
Yeah, he's got the big propeller on it that he's just like mowing down Deadites with
Yep.
it. But yeah,
he's
so
got all the books in his trunk that he uses, the chemistry books. So
yeah, to make like gunpowder and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all coming back to me. And isn't there one of the alternate endings where he like bricks himself up in a cave with the car and like goes to sleep for like 1,000 years or something? Am I remembering that
he
wrong?
says he says the words wrong and wakes up too late. So originally the ending was he wakes up in a destroyed future where like it looks like the Deadites have won. And he's just like, oh God, I slept too long, and he's got like this giant like beard down to his groin.
They
And then
did
there's
do that.
Oh yeah, they 100%. But like then you have the theatrical ending with the whole S-Mart thing where he's telling his story back at S-Mart, and like the Deadite shopper is like, I'll swallow your soul, and then he fights her with the shotgun and all that, and then he grabs the girl and like, give me some sugar, baby. That whole
Right? Yeah. I mean, either way, like we could let Ash just like go about his business and have Army of Darkness play out the way that it plays out, so that Ash ends up in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Or to your point, like we could go ahead and have him get beheaded, and then like Freddy and Jason and Jess run off with the book, and it would be kind of funny because they could maybe Jess could even make mention of that. I was like, wait, like you just killed that guy, but like. I don't know. I don't know if she would know who he was, but it would be funny if you made some mention of like that's really gonna fuck up the timeline or something.
I think we should even do it because remember, like she says his or Ernest says it belongs to my good friend Ash Williams, and then they end up following Jason to the cabin, and like Annie and Ash are there, like maybe she could be like like Ash, more Deadites or something like that, so they could be like, oh, that's the Ash guy, like we could even joke in there that they realize that that's who it is, and then when Jason kills him and gets the book and Freddy scares everyone off, Jess could even point at Ash's corpse and be like, isn't that going to fuck up the timeline? Just kind of something like that, and have Freddy just kind of shrug. So, but now this is kind of where I left off. Like, I just wanted to get that opening segment where we get all of our players, like we get the excess players off the board, and now we have our main characters. So now they're in medieval times, and we have to figure out what to do from here. Are we going to have them figure out how to use the book? Like, is Freddy and Jess going to kind of bumblefuck their way through the book and eventually find their way back? Are they going to go through all throughout time? Are they going to hang out here in medieval times? This is where we have to kind of figure it out.
Okay, so I'm going to propose one thing, which is that, like, you mentioned the little like evil Ash hand that like stabs what's her face like with the dagger. It would be really funny if like we have a scene where you see Freddy and like there's like a bug or something like under his sweater that's like running around, and he's like swatting at it like, what the fuck is this? And it reminds me of like the scarabs from the Mummy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy. They're kind of like running around and he's like swatting at it like, like medieval bugs, like get them, like they were like big back in like ancient times, right, Jess? Like whatever. He says some dumb shit, and then you see the amputated like Ash hand with like the eyeball in it like pop up out of the collar of his sweater and like jump on his shoulder, but like it looks all scared, like, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? And like I just think it would be hilarious if they had like, it's basically like Thing from the Addams Family that's now like their buddy who's like along for the ride.
As soon as
Yes.
you said that, that's what I was thinking too. Like I was imagining like how Thing manages to like show expressions and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I like the idea though. You mentioned it having an eyeball, kind of like the hand from the gate.
Hmm.
What if throughout the story, like it's slowly growing a new Ash?
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's been done a few times now within the TV series and
Right.
in Army of Darkness.
Exactly. It would make sense canonically, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it would just be really funny if they had like this, yeah, like this little hand kind of running around. It would almost be like, like their little pet, like their little dog that's like, along for the
Yeah,
ride.
yeah.
But yeah, like like, but they can make some comments like about how like the wrist is getting longer, or whatever, or like it grows like a little mouth or something, and it's like it's eventually going to grow into like a full grown, ash. And, hell, we could even do that joke like they did with in the Guardians of the Galaxy sequels, where we see Groot grow from being like the little sprout to like the sullen teenager to like, growing up and like,
Oh my god. I'm picturing it being like as it's growing, like once it finally starts growing a body, it would be like, this small human baby body with this adult sized hand attached to its little arm.
yeah.
And it's just slowly growing into its own hand. It's all baby big hand.
Yeah. It would just be like a
But
funny addition
I
for like this installment.
Yeah,
absolutely no,
yeah.
I love this. So let's have just like you said, like have them, looking at the book, and then like maybe Freddy could be like scratching at his sweater, and we see something move, and he's like, "Oh, bitch!" and just starts freaking out, like rolling around on the ground. He's like, "There's a bug on me. Where is it? Get it off! Get it off!" Just like freaking out. And have the hand like scurry out of his sweater, and Jason like go to stomp on it, and it like cower like meh, and it's like making the little meep meep sounds that it makes in Evil Dead 2. And if Jason do like the slow head tilt and slowly set his foot down and reach out and pick it up and look at it, maybe Freddy can be like, "No, we're not taking in a pet. That's not happening." And have Jason just put it up on his shoulder and start walking. He's like, "Oh, damn it. I'm going to have to clean up after it. I know it."
He'll be like, and I'm not feeding that thing. Like, if you want to keep it, you're gonna have to feed it.
I'm not cleaning up after him.
Oh man, that'd be
Oh
hilarious.
man,
That would be.
they have a pet ash hand. I love it.
Well, and so what I'm picturing is I'm picturing Jess is with the book, and she's the one who's smart enough to realize like we can't just go reading random bullshit out of this book all willy nilly, because every time that happens, like some crazy bullshit goes down. So like before we just open up a random portal to a random time period or into hell or whatever, like we need to she has a head on her shoulders, so she's gonna try to figure out like, well, what the hell is this book, and like let me figure this out. So Jason's just like walking along with like the little ash hand, little ashy, and
Mhm.
and again, Freddy's just like like where like and where's the big guy going? Like he doesn't even know where we are. Like like where's he heading off to? But like what you find is like they come across like a village, and then there's like a bunch of like random villagers who are just like hanging out, like partying around like like a bonfire. One of them makes some comment about like oh, like I raided like the miller's like cider stash. It's like I don't know. It's like basically it's like all like the apprentices from town who are getting together, like sneaking, some hard cider around a bonfire outside of town, while all the, the blacksmiths and the farriers or whatever are all sleeping. So you get teenagers who are like having a party, and Freddy's just like, like I can't think of the dialogue, so you got to come up with it. But Freddy has to make some comment about like, this guy, he's like a magnet to these like, rowdy teens,
I know. I think that actually works. So yeah, we could 100%. I love the idea of doing like a medieval version of like the rowdy kids at a like a sex party. Um, so yeah, we'll have maybe we could even do that where we follow Jason to this crowd of teens. He starts murdering. We could even have like little joining in, like it's choking out somebody, which is hilarious to me because it's like a disembodied hand. It's just like squeezing the guy's throat, you know,
right?
and like maybe Freddy and Jess could just be sitting next to the fire while Jason and Ashy are killing all of these campers. And they're just like reading the book by the fire, like, well, it says here that Just kind of going through like, we have to be careful. We got to say these words correctly. Can you read this? That type of thing. So
It'd
we
be
can
a cute moment too
what's that?
to have like Jason and the hand kind of thumb up each other at one point too, as they're just in the background killing.
Right? Have
Yeah.
like a walk by high five where Jason walks by and somehow the hand is like 6 foot tall, like leaping through the air, slapping his hand. Oh my god, that's fantastic. But so like, I guess the question is like, are they gonna stay in medieval times? Like, are we just gonna kill a bunch of kids and knights, and
No,
are
no.
we gonna have to fight
Well,
Ash
they could
again?
be
Like,
in that town trying to figure it out, so we could have them in that town just for a little bit, kind of doing their killing thing, fucking with some people and stuff, until maybe they can figure something out.
Well, I don't know that you necessarily need to stay there because I think it's a little bit of like a one note joke.
mhm.
And I think it's great though. I think it should be funny. I was going to say the high five should almost be kind of like accidental, like Jason picks somebody up and like crushes them and drops them, and while he still has his hand in the air, like little Ashy jumps up and slaps him, and then have Jason just like look at his hand and look at Ashy and be like, like, and he becomes like the T2 trying to figure out like human interaction,
Yes. Yes.
But I'm picturing like the
Oh.
two of them are gonna like walk back over to like the the little bonfire where Freddy and Jess were chilling, and and Freddy's just like he's gotta say something like don't get any ideas, like I'll let you have it this time, but like next time I'm getting some licks in too, and but have Jess be like she's flipping pages like I don't know, like trying to figure this thing out. I don't want to just like read any random words, but like I don't know what anything means, and then have little Ashy jump up on the book, and this will be like a little claymation moment where you'll see him like flip the pages really fast with his middle finger, like flip, 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 and he lands on a page and he taps it like tap, 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 like this, like he's trying to tell her like read this part because he's a Deadeye. He's like one of the evil spirits. Like he would be more familiar with it than any of them, and have them all kind
Oh,
of,
perfect.
you know what I mean? Have them all kind of like look at each other and Jess be like, "You want me to read this part?" And Ash gets all happy, starts jumping up and down, like, "Yeah, yeah, read it, read it, read it," and of course, she's gonna start reading it like, okay, like Klaatu Barada, like Nikto or whatever, and then like again, like they see this wind come. It's almost like a tornado that blows up all the dust around him and puts out the fire and starts picking stuff up. And Jason just like looks up in the air as like some light appears out of the dark sky, and Ashy, you can see him jumping up and down, and he's like clapping his like pinky and thumb together, like clapping his hands together.
Standing on his severed stump, like clap, 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 clap.
Yeah. And they get all excited, and then of course like the little like tornado portal, they get sucked up into the air, and then they get dumped back down again, and maybe like they smash through the roof of like an old wooden outhouse or something, and again, this is where
Yes.
you guys are better at the dialogue, like come up with some great jokes, but basically like what I'm thinking is very like Bill and Ted, like they're gonna kind of stand up and look around and realize they're in like the old west.
Yeah, nice.
Fuck yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah. So they crash down. I love this. They crash down in an outhouse. And like, of course, we got to keep fucking with Freddy. Like, maybe he's like actually in the toilet, like halfway. It's like, oh, bitch! Like, and he's climbing out like soaked in poo water. Just like. And have him just like all like the guy who is literally like burnt flesh wearing the same outfit that he's been wearing forever is like, now I'm gonna smell, like just kind of pissed off about it.
And he should be pissed at little Ashy, like oh, you little bastard, you did that on purpose, and like chase after him.
And little Ashy kind of look like he's like laughing in a way, like.
But then like when Freddy goes to stab at him, like little Ashy like climbs like circles up Jason's leg, like me, like climbs up and hides like behind Jason's shoulder, and Jason just looks at Freddy and like waggles a single finger, like no.
Oh god, I love this.
And Freddy be like, no, you're my bitch, not his. Oh my god.
That would be funny, and they should hear a voice say something like, can I help you fellers?" And like they turn around, and it's like it's like that same old guy who's in like all these old westerns, like with like the big handlebar mustache, but like he was sitting on the can when the slashers like crashed through the ceiling, and you see him get up with like his pants around his ankles, and he's just like, "Can I help you, fellers? You new to town?"
played by Royal Dano, the old bum in
Yes.
Killer Clowns that gets killed. Like, come on, Pooh Bear, I love the circus. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
oh my
Oh
god.
god. And I'm just thinking it would be hilarious because, of course, Jason's gonna be like, "Ooh, fresh blood!" He's gonna go after him, and then they turn around and they realize that like, oh, it's like high noon in like a western town, and there's like just a whole bunch of people going about their business, and it would be funny if you see Jason like he looks in one direction, he looks in the other direction, and it's like and you see. And somehow in his body language, the expression is just like, "Where do I start? There's so many. Oh my god!"
he could almost be doing that thing like like when you see like a cat or a dog, like when you throw two toys and they're kind of like which way do I go, he could almost do that thing like with his hands out, like kind of a open leg stance, looking back and forth like and then he just runs off in one direction.
Yeah.
So we could have like one direction where there's like a saloon and there's like a lot going on, people are partying, drinking, and the other direction is like a town hanging. So they're like hanging people and people are like observing and stuff. So that's where like Jason's like, oh, where do I go?
Yes. Yeah, and then maybe Freddy walks over. He's like, oh, he points at the people who were over by the hanging. He's like, oh, they're already having fun. Like, let's go start at the saloon. Come on, boy. And like they just run off. Like.
So yeah, we could have them just like murdering people in the saloon, and we could even have it like we're not paying attention to what they're doing. Maybe we're focusing on Jess with the book. So like she walks up to the porch of the saloon, like sits down on the step, and she's still thumbing through, like trying to figure out like where they went wrong. And in the background, you just hear people screaming, and occasionally you see like a cowboy with like slash marks from his face to his groin get thrown out of the window, and like there's just like blood and chaos. All the while, there's that old timey tinkling piano playing in the background.
Yes.
Like da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh man, that's awesome. Oh,
you got people like hanging out of windows, the classic like smashing through the window, and somebody could be like rolling past Jess as she's still like focusing on the book and like what she can figure out to get out of here.
And we should have like all these people come, screaming out of the saloon, running, and again, Jess is just ignoring it. She's used to the chaos. She's reading. Freddy and Jason are having a good old time with Ashy, killing a bunch of people. And then we could have like the town sheriff and like his posse come running out and like demand that whoever's in the saloon come out now with your hands up. And Freddy and Jason just walk out smiling. Like maybe Freddy has a cowboy hat on now, so does Jason. Like they stole someone's cowboy hats. Like Freddy's wearing it on top of his fedora.
yes.
Maybe the sheriff, he's gonna challenge he'll challenge Jason to like a fucking like shoot off. So Jason's standing there in the middle of the road next to Freddy, and the sheriff's standing there like looking at him like. And like the sheriff pulls his gun and just shoots all 6 rounds into Jason, and Jason just looks down, looks at the sheriff, and fucking hucks his machete at him, and it goes through his face.
Yes.
And everyone just screams and scatters.
Yes.
And then we have Jess walk up and just be like, "All right, guys, I think I realized where we went wrong. Like we opened the time portal, but we opened it to the wrong era." And have them like read it again and end up somewhere else.
Wait. Before they leave, you have to see like the portal come down, like the storm and the wind and all that, and suck them off. Suck them off, no.
Yeah,
and
but
boo, and like and like fly them all away, and then like the camera pans up to like this little like hill above the town, and you see this like Native American chief and like a couple of other like soldiers and like this like little boy, like his grandson, and have him turn and be like see little crow, like the great spirits have brought justice to the white man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So Jess is like, all right, I think I got where we went wrong or whatever. And for a second, like she reads something out of there. For a second, they plop up on a spaceship And Jason just has this look like, not fucking again! And then they click and they go somewhere else.
Yes.
Like, read it again. Read it again. Read it again.
No. Okay, wait. I love where you went there. I love where you went with that. So exactly what you just said. So like, Jess reads it. They do the whole portal thing. We cut away to the natives. Like we do that whole joke, and then we just see this fucking spaceship out in the middle of space. Like goes immediately quiet, black screen. See the spaceship. And then they all pop into the spaceship, and Jason looks around, and we could see Uber Jason like killing people, and have Freddy be like, "That you?" And he's like, and then they teleport somewhere else. Just like, because again, now Jason sees he's eventually going to become a giant cyborg.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is awesome. Like we could just have this whole montage that happens right here where like we just like jump them through time and like all the very
Yeah.
stereotypical historical eras that you would see in Hollywood at the time. Like they're gonna jump into like the French Revolution
Yep.
or jump into like the American Civil War or whatever. Like they're just gonna kind of jump around to all these historical periods, and every time they pop out, it's just like fresh meat.
I
I
love
see
it.
it more being like movies than periods too,
Well, yeah, totally Waxworks 2 style.
Yeah,
Where
Yes,
that's what I was
we could
thinking
do like
too. Yep.
so like we could even have them, like okay, I still like the idea of having some historical periods in there too. So
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
idea of them being in like popping up in the Civil War, and we just see like people murdering, like just killing each other on a battlefield, and have Freddy and Jason look at each other and be like, "Yeah, they're already doing our job," and then they just like jump to another time. Like
yeah.
we could have like we could just show them in different time periods. But I do love the idea of having them be in different like movies as well. So we could have like we could even rip off Waxworks too. We could have them like jump into the 70s, and there could be like a mall full of zombies and have them just be
Yeah.
like, someone already killed them, Like,
Yeah, or like they pop into like this little town that's just like, and there's like clouds of birds just attacking everybody, like Hitchcock's The Birds,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and then maybe Jess says something like, fuck this, I hate birds. No, fuck this, we're out. Like.
yes.
So her just the whole time just kind of being like, all right, guys, I swear I'm going to get this right. I'm going to get this right. We can figure this out. And just like saying something wrong like each time.
Oh,
Maybe.
and wait, Freddy has to like look at her with like his bloody glove, and he's like looking at it like he's very self-satisfied. He's just like, take your time.
Yeah.
Maybe we could even have it like, because remember when when we first sent him back through time, the book the book didn't come with him, and in the Evil Dead 2, the book didn't come with Ash, but in this one the book did come with them, maybe because Jess grabbed it before she went
Yeah.
through the portal.
Mhm.
So we could even have that, like she grabbed the book from Annie. But the book gets damaged on the way through the portal, like because again, you see everything like flying around. There's pages being ripped out, all that. Maybe part of the page that that little Ashy pointed to, there's a tear in it, so we can't quite make out the last word of Nikto. So she's just like like nickel, nitrate. Like she keeps trying different words,
Nice.
and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
keep ending up in different times. Because if you remember when Ash tried to say he's like Klaatu Barada. I said the words, and then what he ended up doing was unleashing the army of darkness. And every
Mhm.
time the words are said wrong, something bad happens. So we could even play on that and have her, like you said, Sam, being like, I swear to God, I'll figure it out. There's not that many N words. And like she keeps going through, like nitrate, nickel, noggenfogger, like just all these different. But eventually, they'll get to Nikto and go back in time.
Someone has to make the joke of like, like, man, N-words have never gotten people in so much trouble.
Yes. But like we should have like how they figure it out, because we're talking about having them go through the different movie time periods. We should have one of the periods that they jump to be all black and white. We should see a big like silver UFO, and fucking see Gort,
Oh yeah.
the giant robot standing there, his mask opening, and they're like, Klaatu Barata Nikto, and then Gort closes his thing, and then have Jess be like, all right, Klaatu Barata Nikto, and have them zap back into the present time. So
Yeah.
like
Nice.
she gets it because they witness Gort. But like we could, obviously save that for the last jump, but we should have a
Yeah.
couple more jumps in here.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is good though. Like, I mean, this is kind of the whole story. Like, it's basically going to be like a whole movie where I would say the first maybe third of it is that whole setup until we get them into medieval times, right? Where the Army of Darkness like kind of takes off in a different direction. And then we have like most of the rest of the movie is just this big, not necessarily a montage, but it's just again very much like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Sometimes it's a montage, sometimes they stop and slow down, but we're basically just going to jump through time and place and movies and just have a whole shitload of fun with it. Like, yes, I think that's perfect that we found a way to get them back to the present time because we want to put the action figures back on the shelf and have them ready for the next installment, you know. But like this is the whole movie, like, you know. Granted, like we could technically stop right here and be like, cool, like we did it. We're back in present time. Like now what? Or, you know, we could just come up with some more of these and just have fun, you know, brainstorming like, you know, some other, you know, horror movies and shit that we can put them in. You know, hell, we could even go so far as to have them, you know, show up at like, you know, Dracula's castle or something, you know, like
Well, hell yeah.
we could do anything we want.
We could.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, I can't. Okay, yes. What you just said, Dracula's castle. So they're jumping through time still. They end up at Dracula's castle when fucking Van Helsing is fighting with Dracula's minions, and they open up the fucking portal using the amulet from Monster Squad.
Yes,
because we just did Monster Squad 2.
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
And have them even be like, oh, no, that's not our portal. That's not our portal.
Yeah, like, don't go towards the light.
Maybe Jason is getting dragged toward it, and he's like trying to get away.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Oh my god.
And we got to do one where like they show up right at the end of Poltergeist, like the original Poltergeist, right when at the very end when like the whole neighborhood starts freaking out because all the corpses are coming up out of the ground, and like the neighbors finally get to see how like haunted the whole neighborhood is, and like, you know, Craig T. Nelson and his family take off and end up at that like motel. But like now the rest of the people who live there were just like surrounded by like corpses crawling out of the ground. And it'd be sweet if like Freddy and Jason, you know, Ashley and Jess show up and they're just like, oh sweet, they already started, or like, oh shit, they started without us, like hurry up, get them, you know.
Nice. We should also, oh dude, I think this might finally connect into what we had been talking about with Michael Myers for so long. So get this, if we're jumping throughout time, have them jump again in the 70s, be like Haddonfield, 1973 or 4 or whatever it was, and have them like pop in on the night that Michael is stalking, Laurie and her friends. And now Jess is trying to figure out how to get them home, and have Jason kill like Annie instead of Michael killing Annie, and have Michael just be like, kind of staring like, what the fuck? Have him kill like, they kill Laurie's other friends, and have Michael just be like, ooh, like he's not getting the victims that he wants because they're killing him. So when they jump back in time, Michael is gonna have a bone to pick with these motherfuckers.
That's right. Yeah.
They ate his lunch. He's gonna be mad.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in previous episodes, the other two slasher camps, where we haven't found a way to like actually bring in Michael Myers yet, but we mentioned how like, oh, there'd be like this cool like what if sequel where Michael Myers comes in, but because his MO is so similar to Jason's, like in order to set him apart, Michael Myers is just a dick.
Right. He's always fucking with them. Oh my god. So that could even be like a little throwaway joke of just like in all of these other film jumps that we're doing, we could have them jump into Haddonfield, kill some of these characters. And it could almost be like that super bad like edit job, like almost in a jokey way, where you know how when people like take a film on YouTube, they'll like take a scene from a film and they'll edit like a motion of like the person's head like doing stuff that it didn't do in the film. So it's like very obvious, almost like South Park style animation. You could do that where like we see, instead of Michael Myers slashing Annie's throat in the back of the car, we could see like Jason's head kind of ambiguously floating there, like a bad edit job.
Yeah.
It's like the same death, but then like pan over to Michael standing outside of the garage like, what the fuck? Just like looking kind of that head tilt like, what the hell, dude? So we could do like have that whole thing, and then again they jump again to another time. So now we just throw that in there that they fucked over Michael, and keep that in our back pocket for later.
Mm-hmm. And I think for each jump, we have to show the progression of little Ash growing.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like what Josh said, we could even have like, you know, one of the times like where maybe little Ash is on Jason's shoulder and he's got kind of part of a forearm, and Freddy could even be like, "Is that thing's wrist getting longer?" You know, just like what's happening there. Like we could have that joke come back.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know like where it would happen, but yeah, at some point there'd have to be something, some sequence where like Jason and Freddy are killing people, and like you just see like Ashy sitting there like kicking rocks, looking all sullen, and Freddy's like, "Oh come on, like it'll be fun, like here, like you can use my glove," and and it's like. It's like a parent trying to get their like their surly teenager to come participate in like a family activity. He's like, "Leave me alone, Dad. You don't understand."
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man, this is awesome. Oh man.
Oh.
But to be honest, I kind of feel like that's it. Like maybe it's a little bit of like a fizzle out from a podcast episode perspective, but like I feel like this is a great like setup for a movie. Like you said, we can jump through all these like historical time periods and all these like other like movies. Like hell, fuck, we could have like Bruce Campbell as Briscoe County Jr. like roll up on the Western town like right before
Oh, fuck
everybody
yeah.
like before they all like fly up in like the time portal or whatever. Like we could do all kinds of shit like this. But yeah, to your point, you eventually have Gort. Wait, what movie? Gort from what's the movie called again, Mike?
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then you eventually have Gort like pronounce the words the right way and have Jess be like, Nikto. Like I never would have thought of that,
Right.
And then like they eventually like jump back to like present day, and then and they're back at like Slasher Camp, which is on Crystal Lake, and have them like maybe they land like through the roof of one of the cabins, and again another opportunity for like a running gag throughout the whole movie is like every time they land after they travel through the portal, they're always like smashing out of the sky and landing on something, and it's like, god damn it, like we, like like it's like maybe Freddy's like, oh my back can't keep taking this, or better yet he's like, oh I'm getting too old for this shit.
And maybe like the running gag should be like, Jess keeps having like soft landing. So like when
Yes.
they crash through the toilet, like Freddy falls into the toilet, like Jason just breaks the outhouse, and like Jess falls into a bale of hay next to the house.
Yeah.
And like and we could keep having that, like where she keeps falling into a safe thing. Jason is not hurt because he does, nothing fucking hurts him, but Freddy
Yeah.
keeps landing on things that are hurting him, and he's like, motherfucker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so this last time they end up back at Crystal Lake, they smash through the roof of a cabin. Again, Jason just like he comes through the roof and like does that like superhero landing on his feet and like stands up straight. Freddy comes through and gets like impaled on like broken roof beam or something, and then Jess just lands on like the top of a bunk bed like right on the mattress. Like no, I'm fine.
We could even have like Freddy, like he pulls himself off of like the impalement of piece of wood, and he's got like a big old hole through his sweater. He's like, "You're gonna have to knit me a new sweater, bitch." To have Jason just nod
Yeah.
because we have him knitting in 2 different movies.
Exactly. He likes to knit now. He's taking it up as a hobby. But of course,
Like,
they finally get back to like actual slasher camp, and they're gonna have to, they're gonna come out of that cabin and look around like, is this it? Like, are we back home? Is this the right time? Like, but like, there's nobody there. Like, there's no kids or anything, and it would be really funny if like, they go back to their office, like the main cabin or whatever, and they open up the door, and like, what if like they find in there, there's like Dr. Giggles and like dude from Shocker and like Maniac Cop or all these sort of like D-list slashers who all just like they stand up real quick and and spin around like, oh, holy shit, like who's here? And then we see Freddy and Jason come in, and he's gonna say something, like he sees like the new batch and he's just like, oh hell nah, and like flings his glove out.
like it's on, bitches. Well, yeah, because I guess if we want them to like, if it, because we could do 2 things here. We could do the joke of, we could pay off the joke where Jess made the comment of like, is that going to mess up the timeline? And we could have a completely different timeline here.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could do, because remember in episode 2, we had Freddy being introduced to all their new hires. Like Jess was talking about like, oh, the infirmary, we have, Dr. Evan Rendell, Dr. Giggles, and then we had Chop Top and Bubba Sawyer as the cooks, and then we do the whole
Jigsaw,
Cropsy
Crafts.
joke. What's that,
Yep.
Sam?
Yeah, and then Jigsaw, Crafts, and then the
Yeah.
Crosby joke for the opening.
Right. So we could have, like you said, Josh, to your point, we could have them come back, and it's like those guys are like, well, we don't know what happened to the bosses, so like they take over and like run the camp the way they want it to, and they've hired like friggin' Maniac Cop and friggin' I forget his name, but the guy from Shocker, and we could have all these different characters and have them be like, what the fuck, this is our gig, and have them like go after them and kill them all. And then be like, well, we got a whole bunch of new openings for next year. Like we could pay that off and have the joke be like the OG slashers killed the young upstarts. Or we could have it be completely different because they fucked up the timeline by killing Ash.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure which one I like better, but yeah,
I know. Yeah.
that's kind of what I was getting at. The whole idea of, I was thinking the new batch is like Freddy and Jason abandoned the camp, like it was empty for some period of time while they were, traveling through time. And I was just thinking, you're gonna get these like wannabe D-lister guys. It's like, like in high school, like if there's like a vacuum and like the cool kids and someone's got to like step in, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
the sort of like the nerds sort of acting like the cool kids, and that's kind of what I was thinking. But I like this idea of like, well, yeah, what if like while they're looking around before they get back to the main cabin, Jess sees this like flyer like blow in the wind, and she picks it up, and it's like the same like welcome to slasher camp kind of flyer that you saw, like with your classic like horror slashers, but instead of like Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, it's Dr. Giggles and Maniac Cop or Chop Top or whoever. It's like these other people, and have Jess kind of mutter to herself like, A-list slashers, like who are these jokers?
Right.
And that would be funny, because then it would leave us with, if we were if we were to do another slasher camp, like we could just pretend like whatever, they're back in the present, just keep going, do whatever we want. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to leave that little hook at the end, like, yes, they finally got back home, they quantum leaped back home, but oh god damn it, they killed Ash back in medieval times, which completely fucked up the timeline. And through some weird butterfly effect, like Freddy and Jason never existed in this timeline.
Right.
Oh
And-
man.
And we could even we could do the thing where it's like we have the oh wait, hold on. I just okay. Okay, hold on.
That's an evil laugh.
So, because all right, because remember they fucked up the timeline. I figured out a way we could do both ideas. So we have them crash back in the camp, right? And they do the whole thing like the slasher camp. Like we could even have it be like like slasher party, or like party slasher, some kind of silly stupid, like indicating that it's a party camp. And have Jess be like, what the hell is this? And have them go into what they think is going to be their office, but it's like the mirror opposite of the office we've seen in the previous movies. And like you said, we have Evan Rendell and Shocker and Maniac Cop and all these guys, and have Freddy be like, who the fuck are you jokers? And then him and Jason go on a fucking murder spree, and like little Ashy, that's now now it has an elbow. It's like swinging its elbow around, knocking guys out, just like it's growing bigger. And have Jess like looking at it and look across the lake and realize they're on the opposite side than they should be. They're at the camp that was Chucky and Ghostface. So in this reality, it's run by all the losers, but who's running the camp across the way? And we could leave it as a cliffhanger of like, who's running the Freddy and Jason slasher camp? We ended up at the copycat camp, that in this timeline, the copycats are a bunch of losers. So who's over there? And then it could be like, we could even do the like, that we do the finish thing and have it like, the end, ... question mark in blood. You know?
Exactly. I know.
And have them just lined up looking over the shoreline, like,
Yeah, and like in my head, I'm just like, it's fucking Michael Myers. He's over at that other camp, like,
Yeah, of course. Because
we could even show him walking past a window or something then as they're looking across.
Right. Or like we could just like, we could even have like, oh god, we could pan over and like see like as we're doing the end like we're about to go into the end credits, we pan across the lake and we see the camp, we see people there, and then we just hear the all too familiar Halloween theme, black screen and bloody question mark. Just like,
Yeah,
wait a
yeah.
sec, did Michael open the camp? So
Mhm.
but during the end credits, we absolutely have to play off on the hot tub time machine end credits and just have freeze frames of Freddy, Jason, Jess, and Ashy throughout like various historical periods of time while the credits are
Yeah.
rolling over. So like have like
Yes.
Washington crossing the Delaware, but like Jason is hanging onto the back of the boat, you know,
Mhm.
have like the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but have it be little Ashy's hand that's signing, stuff like
Yes, yes. I love all that. Like, or like we show it's like the first Thanksgiving, but like, everyone's scared because like not just the Native Americans, but like Freddy shows up.
he's carving the turkey with a bloody glove.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this would be awesome.
Oh,
Oh man. So yeah,
Definitely.
this was a lot of fun. So Sam, thanks once again for coming and joining with us. Like, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I always like to have you come on, especially when we're gonna have like an Evil Dead episode or something related to Ash and Necronomicon, because I
Mhm.
know you're such a big fan.
Yeah, I'm actually my friend and I are rewatching Ash versus Evil Dead right now. We're like in almost done with the second season.
such a good show. I'm still
Yeah, yeah.
mad that it didn't continue, but I'm happy where they ended it. It was enough where it's like, okay, we can just
Mhm.
imagine what happens next, but I'm still
Yeah.
mad knowing what they had planned and knowing that it got shit canned. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, man, it was so good. Such a
Yeah.
good
But I
show.
like how they also put that alternate ending in there too
Right.
that we
But
wanted to see.
it's just one of those things where it's like, because they were only going to go 5 seasons anyway. Like
Hmm.
that's all they had planned. They couldn't do 2 more seasons. Come
I
on.
know, yeah. Seriously, seriously.
Right. Or even just like condense it into one season and just be done with it. Playing
Or do a
about Game of
movie,
Thrones. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like,
like a wrap up movie. Like I like when they do that sometimes. Like what was that one series where the girl was like the grim Dead Like Me? They
mhm.
ended up doing a movie after that to kind of like wrap things up too.
Or like Firefly with Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It's like with Game of Thrones. Like people complain about that sixth season, but it's because it feels very rushed. But at least we got the ending. Like I don't know why that
Mhm.
last season was rushed so much when that show was so successful. Like I have no idea what was happening behind the scenes, but it definitely felt like somebody was like, "Okay, you need to end this. Like let's go. Like you get 6 episodes. Like get to the end." And they were like, "Okay," and they just fucking they rushed it, and a lot of people complained about it. But at least we got the end of the story. But
Didn't they not have source material past that point? So what they were doing for like the end was kind of just like it wasn't. They didn't have books to reference off of it.
yeah, I mean, because George R. R. Martin hasn't put out the last 2 books in the 7 book series, and
Yeah.
it's been like 13 years since the last fucking book came out. So who the hell knows? But
Yeah.
the show made up a bunch of stuff though. Like the show veered off in like around the middle of season. I'm technically in season 2, but by the time they got to about around the middle of season 3, it was so different. Like there was like the books in them show they have to be different just because so many characters like die in the show who are
Yeah.
alive in the books or the other way around. So it's like the stories just
Mhm.
couldn't be the same. But
Right.
anyway, so Sam, I definitely Mike and I both appreciate you coming on once again and joining us. And of course, we're super excited to get a chance to come back to Slasher Camp. When we first thought about this, we first were planning this. I was like, let's just do the trilogy. Like, we'll just wrap it up. Like, that's it. No more Slasher Camp. We got it, but we got to kind of put a pin in it. But now it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know, maybe. Like, I don't know, maybe there's like still some water in that well, you know?
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
absolutely.
mean,
I think it's a fun thing to come back to too. There's just so many like I don't know, it's so much opportunities for it, and with us all being like slasher fans on top of it, it like that helps too.
oh, absolutely. And plus, like, just like any good slasher, like these slasher movies, even if there's never going to be a sequel, a lot of times they set it up for a possible sequel.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I just recently saw the legacy sequel of I Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which was the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer. I fucking hate that naming convention, but I recently saw that, and it leaves it open ended for a possible sequel. And it's
Mhm.
like, do I think they're gonna do another one? Probably not, because this one didn't perform as well as they had hoped. But there's the opportunity. They could come back to it if they wanted to.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I'm thankful for being a returning character on Raised by Rentals.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, we're glad you came back along with Freddie and Jason. So yeah, we'll definitely do it again sometime. I can already think of one more episode that I think that you would be a perfect addition to. So like we'll talk about it when we get a little bit closer to it. But yeah, and if anyone
Mhm.
else is listening to this and you're interested in wanting to come and join and improv with us, or you've been on before and we've just been remiss in inviting you back because we're always so busy, and honestly we have such a full list of episode ideas that sometimes it's like, yeah, I would love to have you back, but like the episode I want to have you on is like 20 down the list. And so that might be next season, I don't know. But if you're listening and you're curious, just ask, right? Sam's not afraid to ask, like, hey guys, I want to come back on. It's like, hey, perfect timing. We're about to put, the Necronomicon in an episode, like, come along for the ride. And yeah, so
Mhm.
it's always a good time. But um once again, I'll just say thanks to everyone for tuning into the Raised by Rentals program. You can find us online at raisedbyrentals.com, at Raised by Rentals on the socials. We belong to the Red Pantheon, a super team, podcasters, artists, musicians, all sorts of creative people supporting each other to spread the word about rad stuff. If you like this show, there's a great chance you'll dig some of the other projects in the Red Pantheon at redpantheon.com. Sam, you already gave us some plugs earlier, but do you have anything else you want to say to wrap it up?
Yeah, just check out Western New York. So WNY Horror, HORROR, and then Crew, KRUE, like our boy Freddy Krueger.com. And that's links to my eBay page for now and our YouTube. Like I said, I'll be coming back with new episodes of my Nerdy Treasure soon once figure everything out. And like I said, you guys got the sneak peek of we're going to have a building. My goal is 6 months to a year, hopefully, to be able to have a building where we'll have the storefront and a little area for hanging out, a little cafe and stuff, so you can grab something to eat, read some comics, play some games. Maybe I can do some other stuff there. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that project. So,
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
We're all looking
yep.
forward to seeing that happen. And the return of Jerry's Closet in a brick and mortar would be awesome
Yeah.
as well. What about you, Mike? What do you got going on with the Boogeyman's Closet and Count Creepy Head?
Well, unfortunately, with Boogeyman's Closet, like it's been all summer, there's been a lot of scheduling issues, so we're kind of all over the place. We are falling way behind on episodes, but we do have some new ones in the works. So hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be playing catch up and posting a few new episodes. Of course, there's always Count Creepy Head Saturday Morning Monster Mash, where three grown man children talk about pop culture, toys, and Muppets.
Awesome. Always a good time. Always a good time. Yeah, you mentioned the scheduling too. Like that's the other reason why we haven't had as many guest hosts on this year or in a little while too. Just because, man, scheduling this year has been a bitch, and it makes it even
Yeah.
more difficult when you want to have someone come on because everybody's so busy and it's like, oh, we scheduled it this week, then we have to reschedule and reschedule and reschedule. And I mentioned it once before, it was like, a couple episodes ago already now, but there was a time when we literally rescheduled 12 times to get one episode done. And it was like,
Yep.
it sounds like an exaggeration, but it definitely was not. And like, if we'd had a guest host, planned for that, it would have been a nightmare. And so, for a while there, I was just like, fuck it, no more guests because it's just too hard. But I'm glad, we at least for this show, we've gotten back on a good schedule. I hope with the Boogeyman's Closet, you're able to get back on, a good routine. The spooky season is coming up soon. Back to school's coming up soon. So there's definitely,
Ooh,
some good milestones that we need to hit. But yeah, anyway, once again, I
I need
said,
to mention one more thing.
yeah,
Speaking of those, the horror garage sale, the next horror garage sale is coming up November 7th and 8th. And that's going to be in North Tonawanda again at the Legion out there. And then the Haunted Market is in September, September 3rd. Oh, man. I can't
13th.
remember. September 13th. Yep.
Mhm.
So that event is also coming up in Grand Island. So I'll be vending at both of those events with stuff from Jerry's Closet. So wanted to mention that too. And then I've been on a YouTube panel for the past few months called Horror Hangouts. We just released an episode about summer horror. So I covered my top 3 summer horror films in there, and there was a few other people on there that did too. And our next episode is coming out August 23rd, where we'll be discussing Final Guys and Final Girls, where I picked my top 2 Final Girls and Final Guys, and then everybody else on the panel did too, and we're going to be discussing those. So it's Horror Hangouts on YouTube.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely. All the plugs. Mike, do you have any like events coming up soon? Are you going to be at
Actually,
those?
yeah. I will be at both the Haunted Market and the Horror Garage Sale with me and Tara are both going to be there.
Nice. Yeah. As I was listening back to some of the previous episodes to get ready for this, there was one where we mentioned that you had an event and we were like, oh, we couldn't like tell people about it because we were like behind on releasing episodes between like recording and releasing. And so I just had to edited it out, but I'm glad we're able to get that in there because we did promise people like 2 years ago that we would get better at letting the Raise by Rentals fan base know when there was like local events happening.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I also recently did the key art for this year's Amazing Fantasy Fest, which I want to say is the second week of September. I'd have to double check the dates, but it's early September. It's a week of local films and like some crazy old sci-fi and horror films. Like we're actually going to be showing Shadow Creature, that ridiculous Buffalo-made horror film about the mutant zebra mussels that turn that guy into like a creature from the Black Lagoon. It's a fantastic film. One of those Blockbuster rentals I remember renting back in the 90s, and when Blockbuster went out of business, I bought it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun making the poster. It's going to be it's going to be the poster art and the T-shirt art for this year, and I cannot wait to see some of the films that are going to to be up. So
Nice.
looking very forward to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I saw an ad for that too, and I saw that your artwork was on there, and I was like, ooh.
Heck yeah.
That was a lot of fun because the commission was simply, it needs to have a slasher of some kind, so make up a generic slasher and a lady victim. There needs to be an Italian mafioso type hitman and werewolves. That was all they told me. So I'm like, all right. Let's make this work.
You're like, I got this.
Yep.
Nice. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, once again, thanks for you two for joining me through on this trip to Slasher Camp. And as I already said, but I'll repeat myself, thanks everyone for tuning in to the Raise by Rentals program. If you had fun with us, visit us on those socials, drop us a line, leave a comment, leave a podcast rating. Let us know what you think we should improve next time. And with that, I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we have to return some videotapes.
The kids are back! The kids are back! Oh, watch out! The kids are back!
You must say these words. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. Please repeat that.
Klaatu, Barada,